one of the things that I learned is that someone compiled stuff I said about Jesus out of context and sent it to the pastor who reported us. So the pastor's report is influenced by out of context quotes I made about Jesus, which are quotes not of authority, because I'm not an authority on the Bible at all. I'm just a guy who likes to read and think when I have time. And so the exploration of the text was me doing textual criticism of various parts of the Bible because I find it interesting. And then being a little cheeky about Jesus' divinity, which I actually believe in, never didn't. There's a point, I think, to the fact that God came down as a man. And I don't think Jesus saw himself as sinless. The way he describes sin at the Sermon on the Mount, I think he very clearly considers himself a sinner. We say that Jesus was without sin. That's fine. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't think Jesus considers himself without sin. I don't think that God is constrained by some rule that requires a pure blood sacrifice to forgive sin. God can just go, I forgive you. Like he can just do that because he's God, right? But people are like, nope, he couldn't do that. He needed Christ to die on the cross. That was the only way. It's like, that doesn't make sense. That's magic. That's not religion. That's not faith. And so it's like, the problem is I get into discussions about that and I actually think through the problems and the questions that come up. And I often come to a conclusion that sounds something like regular Christian doctrine. But sometimes there's a period in the middle where I'm like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of a strange part of the text. And people take that and they go, see, he's hates Jesus. It's like, no, I like that guy. He's funny. He hangs around with cool people. That whole discussion to me was more about, do I care if Jesus wasn't sinless? No, I don't give a shit. The Word of Virgin says Jesus cannot sin against himself. That's how I reconcile that, Nick. Of course he can. Why can't he? Like if Jesus just murdered a guy, like that'd be sinning against himself. It wouldn't, I guess you could say, well, since he's God and God makes the choices of right and wrong, God can only choose right, then Jesus' choices are always right, therefore he's sinless. But that's it's a fallacy. That's not a real way to get to that. That's a philosophical cheat mode. But the whole thing is, the pastor who reported us got video compilations from people about things I said about religion. He never talked to me about them. He could have. I talked to him all the time. But he never said anything. Not one thing. I think he's an absolutely terrible human. I just thought he was a mediocre pastor before, but he always seemed caring. But people show you the truth about them. That's about the only words I've said to that pastor. I said, where was my family's pastor?